Alright, what's up, y'all? Maxev back again, and my tier list, not that long after being posted, was super quickly invalidated by CyberConnect 2 dropping the Risotto patch. And so, after playing the patch for nearly a month now, I think, if I remember correctly, I pieced together my own personal tier list, and there's been quite a few shakeups, quite a few changes. Quick rundown before we get started of the tiers. God, these two characters kind of run the game. They completely shut down any and all characters. Like, for the most part, they comfortably beat the entire cast, and then they only go even with each other. S tiers are, they're strong, but they at least they have maybe one slight weakness holding them back. A tier have a few more weaknesses, or maybe their strengths are less overbearing. B tier is your mid tier, where characters kind of have more. They're very much more honest, have a nice balance of strengths and weaknesses. C is the low mid tier. These are when you're starting to get to characters that will require more work to succeed with, or they have a harder than average win condition to achieve. D is your low tiers, kind of just bad characters. And then E tier and Iggy or Dog tier, they're just your bottom tiers. They're borderline impossible to win with. Maybe they'll have like a few, like one or two good matchups, but besides that, they're overall very underwhelming characters. I'm gonna try to aim to make this one a lot faster than my first tier list discussion, but with some of the changes and having played the game more since then, this could end up being around the same length or even longer. So starting off with God tier, the 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 champ's character himself, Kakuin. Kakuin did not get nerfed at all since the last patch. He technically got buffed, but it was his assist by fixing a soft lock. I mean, if you count that as a buff. More or less the same strengths. His zoning is still impossible for the entire cast to deal with. He does great damage. His pressure isn't that bad since Emerald Splash is safe or even plus. Good anti-airs. I recently learned that Emerald Splash, just by itself, is a pretty good anti-air, albeit kind of unrewarding. Or maybe sometimes if you're a bit more good at calling out jumps, 5H, 6M is a pretty decent anti-air for dash jumps. And you still have HHA. Overall, great character, and his matchup spread is still absolutely insane. But debatably, this character is even more cancerous. Risotto Nero, the first DLC character, and I called it back in that tier list discussion with the SJRC people by saying he's a part 5 character. He's got to be really good. I wish I was wrong. If I could genuinely go back, if I could go back and just tell myself to not say that, I would. But this character, he has obscenely strong rushdown, invisible mix that you kind of just have to guess. He has anti-zoning to any character besides Kak with Assassin or his invisibility. Completely immune to any and all projectiles, barring a few exceptions. But Cat can get him out by using his normals, but his movement is just obscene. He moves around neutral really well. His damage is amazing, especially factoring in the unblockable setups with 2-2X. He's just in general a very, very unfun character to deal with. Starting in S tier, Gyacho. He stayed the same. Just other characters around him got nerfed. And now having fought him more and thinking about it more, I think he comfortably holds a spot in S tier now. Still more or less the same. Strong vortex, strong rushdown, consistent 3 touches, maybe even 2 touch if you use meter. Young Joseph, I didn't talk about much in the last video because, I'm gonna be honest, I hardly fought him at that point, only fighting him a handful of times. But he's a very strong jack of all trades, master of some, good anti-air with 5H, good reversal with EX Clacker Volley, good anti-zoning with EX Clacker Boomerang. His damage is insane, he can reliably 2-touch. His only weakness is that he kind of has to spend a lot of meter, but if you're good at the double hammer stuff, you can easily build back meter reliably. Only weakness is that he's playing with kind of bad supers. Low damage GHA and HHA. And his HHA provides no Oki if you do the follow-up. Bucciarati. Good, just the same. Strong, all around, neutral, great buttons. Zipper kick 50-50 is still unblockable. Just kind of his only weakness is that his damage isn't as explosive, but it's still really solid. And the revive is really strong. Factoring in the revive on top of his 950 health, he's effectively like around the highest health character in the game. Hermes might still be higher health than him, but still a great character. Pet Shop kinda is like Gyacho, he just rose by the virtue of characters around him getting weaker. His movement is still insane, a lot of characters can't beat him just because of his movement. Mix-ups with 2 and 4 are still more or less unblockable. Polnareff, people have gotten better with Pol. People have gotten better at his combos, install optimals. He does absolutely insane damage if you know the optimal stuff, and he has really strong resets that are effectively impossible to react to. And correct me if I'm wrong, any Pol player, but I think his install itself is a reversal, or at least I swear I fought a Pol who did it on Wake Up, and my attacks went through him. I might be wrong about that one. Moving on, Cars. He got nerfed a ton. He still does good damage. You just have to either have to do harder combos or spend meter. He's still all around great, and something I did not know in the past was his teleport mix. Dear God, his teleport mix. I had not learned about it since then, but it is effectively some of the most insane, unreactable, just constant 50-50s. He vortexes you to death, and his guard pressure is insane with assists or meter. He can create a lot of checkmate scenarios just for you blocking anything. And I kind of overrated Ulf in the past just because it was something that, I mean, it was kind of just a knowledge check, but people kind of learned you can just up back a lot of it. So Ulf is kind of just a meme option. I would really like to see Ultimate Life Form getting buffed back into something you'd go for, but what can you do? Now moving on to A tier, Josuke. I kind of underestimated this character last patch a bit, but having fought Starwind more, this character is actually kinda like, he's really fucking cracked. Great buttons, great damage. Just all around very solid. He also has really ambiguous cross-ups with JL, creating a really strong vortex. His only weakness is that he can be kept out pretty well, but that's going to be a lot of characters. Now Dio, part 3 Dio. Insane staggers, great instant overhead, great damage. Just very annoying to be stuck blocking against this character. Part 3 Jotaro, kind of the same. Hard to escape pressure, great damage. Some of the most insane set play in the game. And also, if I kind of skim over a lot of characters, just want to quickly say, most of it is because a lot of the stuff I said in the previous video is true. I'll point out whether or not I, if I skim over a character too fast or if my opinion on them has changed. But Jotaro is still, that's what I was saying, Jotaro is like an insane vortex rushdown. Don't get caught blocking, don't get fucking hit either. Because time stop TODs have been discovered with both part 3 Jotaro and Dio, allowing you to effectively TOD off of a simple confirm with 3 bars. Now Whole Horse is still one of the most annoying characters in the game. Strong zoning. He's kind of like Diet Cac in the sense that he invalidates a lot of characters, he just invalidates less of them than Whole. But he is a matchup that is really hard because the amount of patience you need is rough. Anasui, great neutral, good damage, strong set play with cure assist, good strike throw. He all around is just a pretty solid, well-rounded character. And that stand rush is like kind of a neutral skip if you can't react to it and punish it. Now Narancia, the god has fallen pretty decently. His health is a lot lower now, 100 less, putting him in the lower health brackets at 850. His zoning and neutral is still good, his buttons are great. His damage is pretty damn normalized now, so he can't really, 1 to 2 touch you anymore. And plus, his DP is no longer ignorant. You can no longer flash cancel it on whiff. So gone are the days of Naruto just having to say no to Oki. Funny Valentine. Very strong. Good neutral. Good setups with the 2-4. Love Train is still a scary as hell win condition. And his damage is still pretty alright, if a bit low. Yoshikage, still kind of doing the same things. He just nukes you. He nukes half your health into Koinoki. You guess wrong, you lose your other half. Prosciutto and Pesci took a massive hit. The pressure is less. It's less inescapable. His 3H has more recovery, so you can't get combos off of it safely. Without canceling or committing, which does really suck, but he did need to be normalized. Aging is still great, and he does still have really solid damage. Now the Burger King himself, the Burning King, ACDC, probably the biggest glow up from the patch. ACDC has massively shot up the tier list. Strong loops with the 2 hell with you loops. Great damage. I mean, thanks to those loops. Better neutral with the health you for being faster, so he has a great anti-air mode. And that move being buffed so much makes it so you're fine staying in mode with AC/DC, because you finally have a safe pressure option in mode that's quick and a good anti-air. And something I was kind of testing a bit. His movement has been greatly buffed. His movement, or not buffed, it hasn't been buffed. It's the same. But his movement, I've kind of realized that it's more or less the best movement in the game when it comes to just pure running and jumps. As his jump is high but not floaty, and his dash jump has the same verticality as a regular jump, but the horizontal movement of a dash jump, letting him very easily move around moves other characters would suffer to move around. Very great character. Highly suggest that you do not sleep on him in this patch. Fragile as shit though, do not get hit. Fugo. I bumped him up to A tier, more or less, in the sense that I think B tier is cramped, and I think he's better than B tier. Still has great pressure, good, pretty solid mix, great damage. Just kind of has horrible neutral, but that's about it. Part 4 Jotaro, very, he's the, in the words of one of his win quotes, nice, a solid 85. I'd say a solid 70. He's the most slightly above average character in the game. He has a good neutral, pretty good damage if you let his combos go on long enough, but he has really lackluster mix. He has to rely heavily on strike throw and fake outs for mix, which can lead to it being really hard to deal with opponents who turtle up with good defense. Still a very solid character. Kosaku, he still does amazing damage. He just has to be a lot smarter about it because he can't just OTG bomb over and over for a bunch of damage, and his lower health makes life against zoners brutal. He lost 100 health going from 1,000 to 900, which does suck considering you're damaging yourself a lot, and it means against zoners you can't take as many chip hits when you're trying to get in. And there's a good chance you could end up killing yourself if you keep using bombs too often in combos after finally getting in. Diavolo, he's just gotten weaker as players have gotten better. His pressure is still an insane unreactable overhead with 2 and 4L, and he does still have great buttons, but his damage up front is not really that scary, and unless he spends meter. And his pressure is kind of weak once he pushes you out of range of 2 and 4L. For anyone worried about the unblockable setups, if he doesn't use an assist and you see him charge it up, just hold up or backdash. Don't SD it. And also Epitaph is still, I mean, he's not bad. Epitaph still exists, so you can kind of cheat neutral. Pucci, kind of the same. He gets a disc, makes you play frustrated, and gets a bunch of damage from you just walking into shit. But he does no damage himself and dies the second he fights his owner. Bao, I think just thinking about more the fact he needs so much meter for hard combos that aren't as rewarding as other characters' combos kind of holds him back, but he's still very solid. Will, good jack of all trades character, but with insane specialization and speed, or just mobility in general. His super jump is great, glider is insane, Hamon cutter is pretty good, but his average damage against most of the cast is a huge drawback. lacks the same I can kill you at any point potential as other characters. Gyro, he's gotten better as people have labbed him more. He has pretty solid anti-zoning with scan. His projectiles are overall pretty good for pressure, and he has good set play with 2 and 4, and pretty solid damage with horse loops and the spin loops with 2-2M. Abdul he's kind of the same, except he lost a huge combo piece with the restand 2 and 4H. So he lost a good chunk of damage, but his neutral is still good, and his defensive play is great. But once again, if he fights his owner, he's dead. Fu took a big hit this patch. Emergency evade nerf was huge. It means she can't be as ignorant on defense. It's severely hurting one of her biggest core strengths of being able to be very guerrilla and just kind of hop out of Oki setups. But she's still good. Just she's very normalized now. OTG nerfs also really hurt her damage. The 2-2 dash cancel makes her pressure a lot more reactable. In general, very nerfed character. Caesar is more or less just another solid jack of all trades, with a heavy emphasis on Oki compared to Will's mobility. Issue is he just needs too many touches to keep up with other characters. This character is very limited right now by his lack of damage. Very similar to Will, he lacks the same I'm gonna kill you factor as other characters. Vanilla Ice. OTG nerfs hit this character probably the hardest. He's a lot more assist heavy for his same big damage he could just do with PC. And he can't really do the same DP into you lost 60 to 70% of your health. He's very honest now, I want to say. That's the pretty solid strike throw with the command grab. Jonathan, the most noble, honest character in the game. The biggest 6 out of 10, I'll say. Or like 6.5. He has pretty alright damage with EX moves. The revive's good, I guess. And I'd say you're kind of still just playing around revive in this version. I think revive is genuinely one of the strongest features on this character. But his one big thing, this version, why the hell is his DP not invincible anymore? That was the most confusing change. EX DP lost all its invuln, which I didn't even mind his medium or heavy DP being invuln. And I'm pretty sure in vanilla they were medium and heavy were invuln. I didn't mind EX DP being invuln, but I guess that was considered too much, so they took that away from him. Gappy or Josuke Higashikata 8. Very just set play with probably the weakest vortex in the game. No grounded overhead severely limits this character. No grounded overhead or command grab. He has to rely a lot on very basic strike throw with his normal throw. and his damage output is severely limited, and for some reason his GHA won't kill this version. Unless if you connect it raw, his GHA will literally never kill. Speedwagon. I think if we just got a character specialist on him, he could. A lot of potential could be unlocked with this character. As like, his pressure ain't that bad. The weird, goofy setups with like the restands or the like mid combo air tech stuff it has potential, but I see no one on this character. He's very buggy and kind of hard to do, like, play consistently. Hermes, however people want to pronounce it, kind of just gets stickers and it does a lot of safe offense with high scaling combos. Unless you do the broom loops, which are pretty meter heavy, but just very run-of-the-mill character, kind of just an honest Unga rushdown. Her high health is nice. It's probably one of her best features. Lets her make a lot of mistakes and still stay alive with her highest on the game health. Jolene, someone needs to do more for this character. Her offense still has a lot of gaps. Her execution is hard. But her damage potential is really good, and so is her set play. But it's just the fact that at so many points you can just SD or stylish guard a lot of her offense. It really hurts. Wamu. I consider Wamu the biggest counter pick character in the game. I think on his own, his matchup spread is too polarizing. But with the wind mode and his hurricane move that pulls you in, it does give him a lot of good, like, out of nowhere matchups. But on his own, his damage isn't that good unless he spends a lot of meter using assist, which is most characters. It's just very run-of-the-mill. His looping pressure with the DP or reverse DP overhead is pretty nice. Just I don't know. There's ways to exploit it. Like there's some reversals they'll just hard beat it. On the C tier, Johnny, another character that kind of grew up in my eyes after playing more people that play Johnny. He's got good zoning, pretty good damage if you can land the right starters. He just doesn't really have great mix because he can't grab on the horse and he can't SD without the horse, or when he's on the horse he can't stylish dodge, which hurts him as he cannot escape a lot of setups. And you can't get off the horse because he can't use his legs, so no jumping, so you just get abused by throws. I think he's a strong character, but he's strong until you get him off his horse. Then it becomes utter hell. Koichi, pretty solid, like mid-range buttons. His damage is pretty alright. But he's pretty sure, I remember he has like low health. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just a lot of stuff I remember from the time I fought him. And he just doesn't really threaten you much without hitting you. His offense isn't really the strongest. His damage is pretty decent though. Okuyasu got nerfed for some reason with the OTG nerfs. Very, very much lower damage. His His stomp loops are gone. The OTG stuff after HHA is gone. He still has pretty solid pressure with the hand swipes and like mix-ups with the unblockables. But overall very, very limited right now. Brando got nerfed in my, or not nerfed, he didn't get nerfed this patch, but I lowered him just because I fight him more. I kind of realized that it's a case of he just gets SD'd too much. His damage really sucks, his neutral kind of sucks, low health. I say his damage sucks, but I'll say one of his biggest redeeming qualities is that he does still have the solid meter dump potential and assist dump potential, a lot better than the characters below him. Akira Toishi, the faster charge really helped, but he's still lacking a lot in the sense of just pure straight up meterless damage. And his neutral is still kind of weak because Whack-A-Mole is pretty slow and very unsafe. He just kind of gets bullied by a good chunk of the cast. Shigechi, he's higher than what he was on my original tier list, but I would have placed him in B tier had the patch not nerfed OTGs. Before, after I posted that tier list, I played him more, labbed more stuff with the OTGs, but this character was doing insane amounts of damage for just one assist and then 1 or 2 bars. His damage potential was absolutely insane, with very solid 70 to even TOD potential combos. I will say, even with the nerfs, his damage is still, it's not the worst, but it's a lot harder to do. His pressure's still good, as you can make anything safe by canceling into 63, and there are some resets and fuzzy setups by triggering IPS with Bolt Shower. And Shield is still, unironically, one of the best moves in the game right now. Giorno Giovanna, I still, like, even with seeing the new tech discovery of comboing after HHA with part 4 JoJo's assist, I still think, like, isn't, like, a bar and assist, like, most characters kind of get big damage? Like, I get this is kind of insane. You are resetting scaling to get another combo, but I don't really see that as much of a reason to rank him any higher, as his toolkit is still really bad outside of when he's hitting you in specific situations. Trish, just kind of the same. She's very below average on all sides. Still has pretty decent meter dump. Struggles to consistently get hard knockdowns into Okizeme. Even with Okizeme, she's not really that threatening. D tier Mista, this character was on the verge of being pretty decent in my eyes last patch, but then he just got nerfed. Pretty harshly too. His damage output is not that great, on top of his combos being some of the hardest in the game to do consistently. His pressure is kind of bad unless if you preemptively loaded Sex Pistols, but even then, I still think you should just be able to load pistols while hitting you, like how he could in vanilla. And OTG nerfs really suck. His damage potential is just not great. Rohan, I think Rohan has potential to move up a tier or 2. His neutral is pretty nice, and he does have some pretty cool, albeit hard links with the safety seals. But his issue is just like, that requires him to hit you, which he kind of struggles at opening you up. Like, his command grab is fast, But he doesn't really have much to stop you from just up backing a lot. But perhaps I'll test this character more as I have been testing him a bit. I will need to see more and play more. Now Yukako, I said it best, she's just Diet Kakyoin. She is Kakyoin without Emerald Splash. Her damage is pretty bad. Her pressure is some of the worst in the game. Or maybe not some of the worst, because you do have cancels into Hair Tether. But her pressure is still not that great as she lacks a good mix-up option. But she's also a very underdeveloped character who is bound to get better over time. Now Lisa plays even triggered her theme right in time. Lisa is still the most like the definition of a knowledge check right now. Her Rekka mix-ups are just begging for you to just kind of just jump or backdash out of them. Yeah, it really sucks that, if I remember correctly, her only gapless option in her Rekkas is the hella minus. Like, that is so unnecessary. And then her, on top of that, like, she doesn't even do good damage, despite her shit being hard. Now, E tier. Old Sif has gotten better in my eyes. People have discovered that with assists, he can do pretty solid damage. It's just the fact he needs an assist, which really sucks. So the way you play this character against this character is anytime he hits you and calls an assist, you breaker it. You breaker at the right time, and now he's down an assist. He's down an opportunity for his good damage. Outside of using assist, he has to spend a lot of bar for any good damage, which he doesn't really build that well. I still think he has a great anti-air, and the command grab is pretty nice, but as long as you know the correct distances, there's a lot of situations where you can hold up forward in his offense, which is really bad. Diego, I think Diego has probably the highest potential out of E tier, as he has a safe pressure option with the gouge that also becomes a DP with 2 corpse parts, giving you one of the few safe on block DPs in the game. But the issue just lies in the fact that he has pretty bad neutral, besides when he has 2 corpse parts and he can just throw out invul and gouge. But the issue is you just kind of reset him a bunch to make him lose corpse parts. And he also lacks solid mix-up potential without Oki. And it has to be like pretty specific setups for a good Oki, and a lot of times it's hard to make this stuff loop. Install still sucks unless you run an assist to cover its millions of frames of recovery. But I still think he does have solid damage that is meter positive. But it's just the fact that everything else really hurts. Then Mariah, she takes too many hits to do anything. Her Okizeme is very flawed. She doesn't have a good grounded overhead, and her Oki is not that great. Or it's suffocating, but it's not really like, you're not really gonna get hit much in her Oki unless you're just the most impatient person on planet Earth, which I hope none of you are. And her, like I said it before, but her damage is so bad unless she lands specific setups. The top you're getting is like what, 180 on a good day? And then lastly, Iggy. Iggy still has no damage. His pressure is kind of annoying, but that's it. He just kind of is just weak on all sides right now. Fragile as shit too, for no reason. He gets utterly obliterated when he gets touched. And has to rely on spending assists or meter on combos that aren't really going to build much meter or give you much time to recharge your assist. But yeah, I'd say that about covers it for my tier list for this patch. Now I swear to God, CC2, you better not patch this game as soon as I finish this tier list and completely invalidate it. But I'd say right now this game is in a pretty rough spot, balance-wise. In the sense that, like, the top two they're kind of hard to deal with for most of the cast. They're not impossible to beat, but they're just, like, the difficulty is way too high on the losing end. I think we kind of need nerfs for top two, and hopefully the next DLC character they add isn't as broken as Risotto, as nerfing a bunch of top tiers and then introducing another top tier was like nerfing all the top, like a bunch of the top tiers except for probably like one of the most problematic ones, CAC, and then adding one that's almost or even more fucked than Kakyoin is one of the most questionable balance decisions I've ever seen. But I'd still say in general, like, this game is still very playable. It's just D tier and lower, I think right now, are kind of not feasible to play, considering all the other strong characters. But I am severely hoping that in the future we do get some serious balance patches to fix a lot of issues. That about wraps it up for this tier list. I'll catch you all the next time patches out. And you know, since I said Risotto, since not Poochie, although we technically are getting another Poochie, since Weather is a part 6 character, he's gotta be mid tier, right? I better not be eating those words. But I'll catch y'all later.